Hello and welcome. My name is Natalie from the ANZ Institutional Banking team in Australia. Thank you for joining me for this ANZ Transactive Global Administration webinar. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge that I'm joining you from Perth, the lands of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. I also acknowledge the traditional owners on the various lands of which you are joining from today. I pay my respects to elders past and present, and to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples joining us today. Our training webinars are designed to help you unlock the full potential and get the most out of ANZ Transactive Global, our digital web and mobile banking channel. Through a single interface, you can access common services such as cash management, trade finance, loans, commercial cards, foreign exchange, and data insights. In this session, I'll be taking you through the administration menu. Administration allows your organisation to create and manage users, roles, product rules, and approval workflows in ANZ Transactive Global. There are also some new features introduced since our previous administration webinar in 2023 that we will also look at. Following today's session, I would encourage you to view our Digital Services Help page for further information on the topics discussed, as well as revisiting our previous webinars. I will show you how to find these at the end of today's session. You will see that the Teams chat function is disabled for this session. However, you can ask questions using the Q&A tab, which is located at the top of the screen. My colleagues are online and will answer as many of your questions as possible as we go. Today's training session is being recorded. The video and a copy of the Q&A, including any questions we're unable to answer during the session, will be published in ANZ Digital Services Help in the coming days, so you can rewatch or share with any colleagues who weren't able to join us live. The last thing before we start, this session is being conducted using a training environment, which means some of the screens and system behaviour may appear different to what you see in ANZ Transactive Global. Please keep that in mind as we go. For anything outside of ANZ Transactive Global, we will show screens from our Digital Services Help. Today, we are going to start by looking at administration models. ANZ strongly recommends segregating duties using multiple administrators to help reduce the risk of undetected fraudulent activities. Having a single individual perform functions within ANZ Transactive Global can increase the risk of fraudulent activity going undetected. This includes using multiple administrators when making changes to user profiles and system settings, as well as ensuring different users are involved when creating and approving payments and direct debits. Your organisation will be set up with either a dual, triple, or single administration model. The most common model is dual administration, where a minimum of 2 administrators are required to effect changes. Using this model, administrators can modify their own permissions, but do require a second administrator to approve the changes. Transactive Global also offers a triple administration model, where a minimum of 3 administrators are required to effect changes. Using this model, an administrator also cannot modify or approve changes to their own permissions. The final administration model is single administration, which requires only 1 administrator to make all changes. This model is less common, however, as it is only available to sole traders or proprietary companies with a sole director or secretary governance structure. Organisations using dual or triple administration models will require a minimum of 2 or 3 administrators to manage the channel, while organisations using the single administration model may only appoint 1 administrator. Changes to administration models are configured by ANZ. Forms can be downloaded and submitted through the service request menu. Let's now take a look at navigating the administration menu in ANZ Transactive Global. As you can see, my apologies. As you can see, my menu on the left-hand side shows a long list of options. This is all menu options available. Your logon may only show a small number of menu options. These menu options are based on the services your organisation has with ANZ, and these will also vary depending on your role. If we select Administration from the main menu on the left of the screen, a list of 7 submenu items will appear, being User Management. This allows administrators in your organisation to view and manage users who have access to Transactive Global. Role Management allows your organisation to view the role permissions assigned to each role and to create and edit custom roles. Account Management displays a list of accounts registered to your organisation. Account Group Management enables your organisation to group a set of accounts together. Other Settings displays your service request and division settings, authorization panels, and confidential data groups. Download Reports is where you can view all administration reports that have been generated, and Administration Reports allows you to create, schedule, manage, and email user reports. As you can see, my version of Transactive Global doesn't show the last 2 submenu options. However, your version will include these. Let's now take a look at each of these menus in more detail, starting with User Management. This menu shows a list of all users who have access to ANZ Transactive Global. Here, administrators can manage users, including view and delete users, generate passwords, and reports. There are 3 methods you can use to access the menu options. Please note these methods are available for all pages within Transactive Global. The first option is to right-click on a user and select one of the options from the drop-down list. The second option is to tick the checkbox to the left of the user and then click either Actions, Reports, or Generate Password from the control bar across the top. The third option is to click on the user for a detailed view and then click the options in the control bar across the top. Now that we have selected this user, a new feature recently added to this menu is Disable. This may be required if a user takes extended leave or leaves the company and prompt action is required to lock down their logon. To complete this action, select Disable. In your version, a pop-up window will then appear. Click Yes, and the user status will be set to disabled pending approval. This will then require approval based on your administration model to effect the change. When disabling a user's access, they will no longer be able to log into ANZ Transactive Global. However, any in-flight payments and direct debits this user created before they were disabled will continue to move through the payment approval and release process. If this user has left your organisation, please ensure you lodge a request via the Service Request menu to delete the user permanently. Let's also look at adding permissions to an existing user. Today, let's select John Brown, select Edit, and scroll down to the user permissions. Select Add Permissions. I wish to add the Approve role to John's profile. I select this role, then Continue. The Permissions Settings screen will then appear. This screen allows us to fine-tune the permissions to suit the payment types John will be required to approve. In this instance, John will only be approving payments, not payroll, so make sure Standard is selected. In regards to the approval discretions, there are 3 types of payments that can have a limit applied. Daily, the total amount a user is permitted to approve in 1 day. Batch, the amount a user is permitted to approve for a total batch. And transaction, the amount a user is permitted to approve for 1 transaction, including single items within a batch. So in this instance, John is going to have a $1 million limit as the daily limit, 800,000 as the batch limit, and 500,000 as the transaction limit. John won't be required to approve international payments, so we will select None, and all other settings will be suitable. Select Add Permission, then Save. You will now notice the status has changed to pending approval. Depending on your organisation's or administration model, this will also need to be approved by 1 or more additional administrators to effect this change. An administrator can also generate a password for a company managed user. From the user management menu where we are in, if you select a user, you will notice the Generate Password option displays across the control menu. Once selected and approved, based on your administration model, a password will be displayed. Provide this temporary password to the user to log in and reset their password. ANZ recommends using the user management screen to regularly review existing user access and disabling or deleting any inactive users. This will assist in safeguarding your organisation account and information by reducing the risk of unauthorised access. I will now demonstrate how to create a company managed user. A company managed user is a user created and managed solely by administrators within your organisation and can only log in using a password. They can perform various tasks depending on the role that is assigned to them. However, there are restrictions on what functions the user can perform. Administrators can create a new company managed user by clicking on the User Management submenu, then select New. Enter the details including name, business email, physical address, and contact number. Noting the fields with an asterisk are a required field for completion. Scroll down to the permission. The new user can have permissions added by copying existing users' permissions or manually. If we wish to add permissions manually, a list of available permissions will be provided. Today, we are going to copy permissions from another user, as our new user will be replacing an existing one and requires the same permissions. Once you have selected the user you are going to copy, review the role details you are allocating by clicking on the blue icon to the right of each role and amend as required. Once correct, click Save, then Submit. You will notice your request is being processed and will require approval based on your administration model. Once the final approval is complete, a temporary password will be generated. Please ensure this is shared with the new user. If you need to set up an ANZ managed user, please submit this request via Service Request in the main menu. Users can be ANZ managed for various reasons, including requiring a security device to perform the particular function in the digital channel. The next submenu we will explore is Role Management. Role management allows your organisation to view role permissions assigned to each role and create and edit custom roles. In the example on my screen, we have 3 roles. To view a list of users that have access to these roles, click on the blue icon to the far right of the role. To edit a role, simply click on the role. Select Edit from the control bar across the top. Today, I'm going to create a new role from the Role Management landing page. Select New. This role I am creating is specifically for approving payroll payments. Give the role a name and type in a brief description. Select the permissions required and then select Submit. And once again, this will require approval based on your administration approval model. Once approved, this role can be allocated to users by the Edit User process we mentioned earlier. Moving on to the next submenu option, Account Management. Here, a display of accounts registered to your organisation will be shown. In this instance, there are 5 accounts. I can view each account by selecting it. To edit the account, click Edit, click on the Edit button. Fields that are editable will have an asterisk. In this instance, we can change the account short name. If your organisation has multiple divisions, we can also add or remove accounts from divisions here. Simply click Add Division, select the division, then Add. If you wish to remove a division, click on the X next to the division and click Save. The Account Group Management submenu enables your organisation to group a set of accounts together. You can then entitle the account group to one or more users, making it easier to entitle large groups of accounts. In this menu, we can edit existing account groups or create a new account group. To create a new account group, select New. Unfortunately, this option isn't available from my demonstration environment, so what I will do is modify an existing account group as the screens are very similar. Account groups are assigned a name and description, as you can see here, and we can also add or remove accounts as required. Select Save, and again, this will require approval based on your administration model. Our next submenu, Other Settings, displays or allows you to create settings for service requests, divisions, authorization panels, and confidential data groups to restrict user access to certain templates and payments. Today, we will look at setting up an authorization panel and a confidential data group. Let's start with an authorization panel. A panel can be as simple or complex as required and allows your organisation to set up a customised approval workflow for your payments and direct debit requests, giving you full control over who can authorise certain transactions and when. Some common cases where a panel would be effective would include setting up panel threshold amounts to ensure payments over a certain amount have the right approvers. Set the panel sequence to ensure certain users approve at a particular point in the approval workflow, or create rules within a panel allowing for a different approval workflow based on the funding account. Today, I would like to show you how to create a panel that requires 2 approvals for amounts up to $50,000 and 3 approvals for payments up to $100,000. So from the other submenu, select New Panel. Give the panel a name. Select the currency and a brief description. To create the panel rule, select between all of the selected accounts required. Add the threshold amount of up to $50,000. And a little tip, if your rule is for an unlimited amount, simply type in all 9s. Select the approver sequence. In this instance, we want 1 approver from Group A and 1 approver from Group B. The drop-down labelled order will allow the approvers to be fixed or not fixed, meaning you can arrange the sequence of approvers if required. For our example, if I wanted the first approver to be someone from Group A, I would select Fix. Today, we'll leave this as not fixed, meaning the order of approvals is random. Please note that the last approver will require their security device to release the payment for processing. We also need to add the threshold for amounts of up to $100,000. Select Add New Threshold and add the $100,000 into the amount field. Now add the panel detail. In this instance, I require the first approver to be from Group A, the second approver to be from Group B, and the third approver needs to be from Group C. In this instance, I will select Fix, and once again, the last approver will require their security device to release the payment for processing. Click Submit, and this will require approval based on your administration model. You will now need to add this panel to the users in your organisation via the Edit User process we were demonstrating earlier. So select User Management and edit the user. Scroll down to Authorization Group and select from the drop-down. Repeat this for each user that requires panel access and arrange approval for the changes. Moving on to confidential data groups. This setting is useful for organisations who need more than one type of restricted payment, for example, executive payroll. Users can be entitled to one or more CDG and can then tag a template or payment to a confidential data group. Only users with access to a particular confidential data group will be able to view and action templates and payments tagged with the group. Let's now create a confidential data group. Within this Other Settings menu, scroll down to the confidential data groups and select New. Give the group a name and description. And a little tip here. If you will be using the confidential data group when importing an ABA file in Australia or a CSV file in New Zealand, ensure the name is no longer than 12 characters, as this needs to match the corresponding field in the file. Select Submit, and your confidential data group is now created. You will now see the confidential data group. You will now need to add the confidential data group to the users in your organisation via the Edit User process we mentioned earlier. And if you would like more information on panel or confidential data groups, we have videos available in our online Digital Services Help. The Reports submenu allows you to create, schedule, manage, and email user reports. You can run ad hoc report profiles, schedule reports to automatically run at a particular time, and save reports for future use. Today, we are going to run a user activity report, and I will run this from our user management screen. Please note your version of ANZ Transactive Global will have the administration reports submenu, and you can run ad hoc or scheduled reports from there. So today we're going to select the user or users we require the report for. From the Reports menu option in the control bar, select User Activity Report. Choose the type of file you require and enter a file name. And then select a date range and event type or all. Select Submit for the report to generate. For more information on reports and report types available, please refer to our Digital Services Help page. And lastly, as promised, I said I would show you our Digital Services Help that we have referred to during this webinar. Simply click on the Help icon in the application banner from your ANZ Transactive Global logon, and this will open the ANZ Digital Services Help in a new tab. ANZ Digital Services Help is an online self-service database of step-by-step guides, instructional videos, and frequently asked questions for our digital channels, including Transactive Global. Within our Help portal, select the How Can We Help page, which is showing on the screen now. Search function will enable you to search for specific areas of interest. For example, I can type confidential data groups to quickly view detailed instructions for this topic as we went through today. You can also register for an upcoming webinar session here and view recorded webinars you may have missed. And that brings us to the end of our administration webinar. I'm going to display a page very shortly which lists our upcoming webinars together with a QR code to register for the upcoming webinars. A reminder that a recording of this session, as well as the Q&A, will be added to our ANZ Digital Service Help in the coming days should you wish to rewatch anything or share with your colleagues. You can get to the ANZ Digital Services Help by scanning the QR code currently on the screen or by clicking on the Help icon next time you are signed into ANZ Transactive Global. I hope this session has been of value, and we look forward to you attending our future ANZ Transactive Global webinars. Thank you and have a great day.